Taken to task by PNP President Mark Golding for his handling of crime in the country. The criticism came at a PNP meeting in Spanish Town Saturday evening. Mayor of Spanish Town Norman Scott also used the occasion to announce his intention to challenge for a PNP vice president post. We have the details from Dwayne Anderson.
A small group of PNP supporters got some big news last evening when several party officials converged in Spanish Town, St. Catherine. Spanish Town's Mayor Norman Scott confirmed to party supporters that he will be running for one of the top jobs in the PNP.
I today officially announce my position where I'm going to be seeking to be a vice president of the People's National Party. And I want, comrades, when Comrade Mark Jefferson Golding stands up in the national arena, I want to stand beside him as one of his generals.
PNP President Mark Golding, who was guest speaker, told supporters that he's working on uniting members of the party, and another meeting was held on Saturday as part of that process. Supporters were also told to get ready for local government elections.
And to all of our candidates, I say, get close to the people. Be out there, be accessible, listen to them, hear what their concerns are, understand their concerns. Don't be afraid. Yes, people might check you for this and check you for that. You might not be in a position to give everybody everything right now. We know that. But listen to them. And you know that when you are in a position to do what you have to do, you will be doing it for the people.
Mr. Golding also took aim at Prime Minister Andrew Holness for his handling of the country.
More women seem for dead on the Labour Party than any other government. They might kill women and left, right and centre. May I tell you, it's like the country gets sick. And you know, in my own view, the tone that has been set, the brogad culture, it has made the situation worse. Because you're not embracing a wholesome set of values and living by it. When you embrace certain image and certain things. Senator Crawford talked about it in the Senate the other day. The kind of tune them where the Prime Minister used on the campaign trail. Pure badness in them tune.
The political gathering was staged with COVID-19 measures in mind. We noted that some chairs were left empty to try and space out the people who attended. But not everyone wore their masks at all times. Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Up first, this evening, health officials will continue meeting with irate doctors next week to resolve payment and employment concerns causing uproar in some regions. The Jamaica Medical Doctors Association is outraged at short-term contracts being offered to over 140 doctors and delayed hazard payment for members working on COVID-19 wards. Details in this report. There's disquiet yet again among public health doctors. This time over delayed hazard and gratuity payments.
The hazard pay is months behind. I can't think of any single hospital that is less than 2 months paid up. The gratuity that we were promised that all gratuity owes would be paid June 2021 cycle, and of course, payday has come and gone. The gratuity is unpaid.
The president of the Medical Doctors Association was speaking on Beyond the Headlines on Friday. No hazard payment is due to doctors who are working on COVID wards. Another concern, over 143 doctors are uncertain of employment come July 1 as their contracts will expire. Dr. Fitzhenley is livid that some members are being offered 6-month contracts, a breach of their heads of agreement.
We will not be taking anything less than what it is that we have previously negotiated, which are 2 or 3 year contracts. That's the bottom line. It's honestly heartbreaking because it's like we were pushed to our limits and we still continue to do it now. And now when we're asking to be treated fairly, just like any other union who also signed heads of agreement, our own is being breached continuously with no explanation for why. And that is why the JMDA has said, enough, we will not take this anymore.
Now the government is moving to allay these concerns. On Friday, Health Ministry officials met with doctors and the regional authorities. There's to be another meeting next week. Here's Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton.
As it relates to gratuity payments, we have to ensure that we do not have these outstanding payments, because we need to keep our doctors motivated, and indeed if they work they should be paid, and I've made that very clear. And so that is one of the issues to be discussed. As it relates to short-term contracts, I'm a little concerned as to why one would give that short a contract, and again, that's an issue that's going to be discussed today, and I intend to meet with the JMDA early next week to have a conversation with them. And if that is indeed the case, we have to find a way to fix it.
Dr. Tufton concedes the unease is justified, noting that better communication is needed.
A manhunt is on for 4 men who shot and injured 7 persons in Johns Hall, St. James on Saturday. As we hear in this report from Cody and Barrett, the gunmen went on a shooting spree while evading authorities.
The Johns Hall community in Montego Bay, St. James was the scene of a series of shootings by 4 men Sunday afternoon. The first incident happened around 2:40 p.m. The men, armed with high-powered weapons and a handgun, opened fire at a group of men at a car wash in Dam Road Square. 4 men were injured at the location. An off-duty police officer responded but was shot at by gunmen who escaped in a motor vehicle. TVJ News understands, however, that the car in which the gunmen were traveling collided with another motor vehicle, leading to their third shooting. They reportedly opened fire on the occupants of that vehicle, injuring 3 more persons who were rushed to hospital. All the injured persons are in stable condition. However, healthcare workers are under pressure with the recent influx of shooting victims. Western Regional Health Authority's clinical coordinator, Dr. Delroy Frey, says the Cornwall Regional Hospital has had to repurpose areas earmarked for COVID-19 care to house the patients.
Between Saturday and Sunday, we have seen 9 cases of gunshot wound. We had to operate on 2 on Saturday and 4 on Sunday. And let me give you some idea of what this involves. On Sunday, our surgeons started operating at about 3 p.m. and they didn't finish until 4 a.m. this morning.
To look after persons with gunshot wounds, it takes hours and extra blood, which Dr. Frey says could be used for patients who are in dire need.
We would like to see this minimize or eliminate as best as possible, so that we can look after genuine people who need our services. And that is what the emphasis is all about. So I would make a strong plea to the public that you are depleting our resources. So I'm asking, that we, do something about that.
Meanwhile, former councillor for the Johns Hall Division said he's been trying to reach out to persons believed to be involved in gang-related activities to provide mediation.
We have been trying to find what would be the best solution, but we have not come up with it because these things are among individuals and you are not exposed to these things until when it actually happened. But it speaks to a broader situation. It is the state of affairs in our country, where law and order and tribalism and gunmanship and badmanship has become the order of the day.
Investigations into the latest shootings are ongoing. Cody and Barrett, TVJ News.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for staying with us. And a special welcome once again to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. Up first this evening, the Health Ministry has suspended the COVID-19 vaccination program again. Now this as dwindling supplies continue to face the ministry. Now as a result, the ministry says there'll be no vaccinations this weekend. Our reporter Dashan Brown reports.
Chaos and confusion last Friday with people under 50 going for their second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine turned away from vaccination sites because of a shortage. That shortage pushed the government to suspend vaccination activities on Monday and Tuesday. But with no new doses arriving this week, the government is forced to suspend vaccination again. This time, none will take place over this weekend. A release from the Ministry of Health said vaccination will resume on Monday. The release went on to point out that due to the number of vaccines presently in the country, it will continue immunizing people who are 50 years and older shoulder and are due their second dose. The ministry says with the anticipated arrival of more vaccines in the island over the next 2 days, other members of the public are asked to wait for instructions on how to make appointments for their second dose. It reminded persons not to turn up at vaccination sites unless they are contacted by the health team and to take the necessary documentation such as vaccination cards, TRN, and a government-issued picture ID. Dashan Hendricks, TVJ News.
Now, meanwhile, nurses are now in dialogue with the health ministry about delayed payments for work done at vaccine blitz sites in March and April. NAJ President Patsy Edwards Henry says they continue to get the runaround from the Ministry of Health and they're fed up. Shamela Pullen has that story.
Public health nurses have been stretched in recent times, working at vaccination centers added to their workload. Some worked well into the night, doubling up, having worked their regular shifts in the days. But President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, NAJ, Patsy Edwards Henry, says some of our nurses who worked on March 27, April 3, and April 9 to 13 are yet to be paid.
A number of nurses who have worked at the blitz sites have not been paid. Number of nurses in the Southeast Regional Health Authority and a number of nurses in the Southern Regional Health Authority have not been paid. We understand that there were some glitches with the Southern region and the forms came in late, but we're not understanding why, since the last outcry, persons have not been paid.
Mrs. Edwards Henry says the association has been making inquiries about the payment delays, but the NAJ keeps getting the runaround.
So the ministry says it's the region and the region says it's the ministry. And then when I go to the ministry, I hear I need to talk to the region. And when I talk to the region, I hear I need to talk to the ministry. And some persons just don't answer their phones after a while.
And with more vaccination blitzes on the horizon, the NAJ president says nurses are demotivated.
And as a result of that, the Southern region had challenges getting persons to work for the second blitz. So it's probably, the fact that we were out of vaccines probably is a blessing in disguise. I just believe that if you are asked to work and you are offered some form of payment and you enter into that contract, then it should be honored. It should be honored at any cost. And I just believe that the government needs to find a way to honor its obligation to the nurses.
When contacted, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the ministry will be meeting with the regional health authorities starting today in Ochirea, St. Anne. The delay in payments for the nurses and other health personnel will be discussed. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
The Zone of Special Operations in Norwood St. James may not have the desired results following an admission from National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang that some of the criminals may have fled the community before the forces moved in. The security measure, among other things, is intended to address social weaknesses in the community by building out infrastructure while also giving the security forces time to track down and remove crime producers and wanted men. The security minister addressed the matter while touring the ZOSO in Norwood St. James on Friday.
Who are involved in the crime are involved in what you popularly know in Montego, a lot of scamming. So they are fairly well known. And the police sought to identify and apprehend a number who were not only involved in a lot of scamming, but involved in violence, our violence producers. And they continue to carry out the operation. Naturally, when this zone is announced, a number of people move out. I understand that some people thought we were going to come with a state of emergency, so they moved. It's a zone, so it's a different concept, and most will move back to their home, and they, of course, can be questioned, and the police will have to decide what, how to use what evidence they have, if it's enough to go to court.